Thank you for staying with us. The Central Bank of Nigeria has raised interest rates from 24.75% to 26.25%. This was disclosed by the governor of the CBN, Olayemi Cardoso, who doubles as the chairman of the Monetary Policy Committee at the end of the 295th MPC meeting in Abuja. Senior reporter Ademola Lawrence has details.
The Monetary Policy Committee MPC of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN held its 295th meeting on the 20th and 21st of May 2024 to review recent economic and financial development and assess risk. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee MPC agreed to increase the monetary policy rate MPR for the third time straight to rein in the country's soaring inflation level pegged at 33.69% in April 2024.
The key focus of the MPC at this meeting remained to achieve price stability by effectively using tools available to the Monetary Authority to rein in inflation. Members observed that while year-on-year headline inflation in April 2024 rose moderately, the month-on-month measures of headline, food, and core all declined significantly.
The CBN governor acknowledged the rising inflation levels in the country. He said the key focus of the MPC meeting was to achieve price stability by using tools available to rein in inflation.
Recent tight monetary policy stance of the bank is beginning to yield the desired outcomes. Gentlemen of the press,
Drawn the circular following the president's directive.
as bankers to government, as the federal government amended its position, we have withdrawn the circular that we issued to the various banks. There was a need for us to take a breather and see how we could work with the different players there to strengthen regulations. Not by any means to throw them out of business. And let me emphasize that as at this point in time, we have not revoked the licenses of any of the fintech organizations, many of those players, we have not.
The next Monetary Policy Committee meeting will hold on July 22nd and 23rd, 2024. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining us in the studio to discuss this is the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, with the level of inflation in the country, is this the way to go?
Well, ordinarily, when you have inflation, that's the way to go. You try to reduce liquidity in the system. You try to do a little bit of tightening so that there will not be so much cash in circulation. Those are normally will work in a, what I call a textbook economy. It will work. That's the normal economic terminology. You do this, you do that, then you bring down inflation. But in our own situation, I keep saying we have a peculiar situation. And what we've been doing this for like 18 months now, right from the Emefiele era where we started inflation at 17%.
Yeah.
Today we are doing almost 34%. It has not gone down. So when we keep doing things all over again and again and again, and we think we'll have a different result, I wonder. The CBN governor is so confident that inflation is coming down.
Yes, and but investors are confident.
Where is the investor? Just yesterday, investors that are coming in, is it foreign direct investor or portfolio investors? Because from the data we got from the Nigerian Stock Exchange, between the first quarter of this year, about what we got in terms of foreign investors that came to Nigeria was about I think 54 point something billion, and those that went out about 191 billion. So foreign investors are actually getting their money out of the country, about 237% increment in terms of those that are getting their money.
So are we saying the CBN governor is not aware of these figures?
I don't know. Maybe, the NSC, the Nigerian Exchange Group, will need to let him know, because that's for foreign portfolio investors. Now, I don't know, maybe foreign direct investors, because the CBN keep making us understand that investors are coming. If you look at the figure in January, yes, in February, yes, But when you look at it, last year and this year, and between in February and March, you realize that a lot of investors are pulling out instead of coming in. They are pulling out their funds instead of coming into the market. So I think that's where the challenge is. You just take it out because we keep doing this, and if we have looked at since for the past 18 months, you realize that we keep hiking the rate, and our exchange rate keep going up. From that, we started at 400 when this inflationary pressure started. Today, we are doing about 1,500. And we have hike rate. As we hike the rate, it seems that the exchange rate goes up. We hike the rate, the exchange rate goes up. And that is the challenge, because over 70 to 80% of household consumables are imported. So when I'm importing my goods at a high exchange rate, not just a high exchange rate alone, a high custom duty charges, which also fluctuating with the exchange rate all at the same time. So like the Center for CPC said of recent, Muda Lawal, he said, can't we fix the exchange rates in terms of importation of goods? Since the CBN said, look, we know our naira is undervalued, this is the true value of your naira. Can't you put your exchange rate at the true value of your naira? I mean, your import duty rate? Then you begin to address those inflationary pressure, because what you think you gain here, you lose here. Yeah. And the losing part is higher than what you think you're gaining. Now, the CBN are quite optimistic that, inflation has gone down a little. Now, how are they optimistic about that? Remember that at the time we saw inflation that high in month to month. Now, it's the month to month that has gone down, not the year on year. Year on year. Now, the month to month, why we saw what happened was because at that time we saw the naira move from a height of almost 1,700, 800 to 1,100, 1,200. That drive down the inflationary pressure that was responsible for the marginal gain that we saw. So we cannot keep chasing shadows. The challenge is get your exchange rate stable. You are hiking rate to attract investors, especially in the fixed income space. Now, how many investors are really coming in the fixed income? You are trying to attract foreign investors. I just gave you a data now. Yeah. That the foreign investors you are trying to attract are actually pulling out. So it seems not to be working.
So how do we now stabilize interest rate, knowing that they have consistently said we have to be a manufacturing country to be able to stabilize exchange rates? No matter what we do at this point, it's seen in some circles as temporary.
Well, like I say, you do the temporary measures first for stability, then you think about the long-term effect. Ordinarily, what the CBN is doing normally should have a positive effect. Okay. But Nigerian economy, I keep saying, has a peculiarity.
What is this peculiarity?
Yeah. The informal sector is largely driven by cash. If you starve that sector of cash, you kill the economy. You saw what happened during the Naira redenomination.
Yes.
So it's the informal sector, and that sector have not been captured on how to go about improving maybe cashless or whatever in that space.
Yes.
And like he said, the fintech company seems to be the one to bridge that gap. But now there's a challenge. Most of them, they have to get back. You have to register and all. And these people in the informal sector seems not to have that time.
They don't have that patience.
They don't have that patience.
Yeah.
So what you do, you look at it now. You're talking about when you raise the rate.
Yeah.
What happened? First of all, you are trying to hold back liquidity. You are trying to say, okay, like bank 45%. Now what happened? That means banks lending to the real sector will be less. And you are now saying in one hand, we need to develop the productive sector. How do you develop the productive sector if the banking sectors are not playing a key role in developing that sector in terms of lending? Now, lending has gone up today. As when the CBN made that announcement, what it means that the cost of fund, the cost of lending has gone up. The minimum lending should be 26.45, what the CBN is. So that's the minimum. And then it depends on your level of the type of business you are doing. Bank will look at your risk level of your business.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you are seeing some business lending at 30%, 34%. How are they going to profit? And if they do that again, what do they pay? They pass it to the consumer.
Yeah.
So what do you see?
You pay more.
You pay more, goods goes up. And when goods goes up, what happens? Inflation.
Absolutely.
Now, take it the other way around. The earning ability of the average Nigerian has not improved. So what happened to those goods? Most of those goods are there in the warehouse. They cannot be sold. So we need to look at it and look at how do we address our challenge. In the short term, you need to stabilize the FX market.
Why is it so difficult to do so, especially with regards to we knowing the value of Naira, and yet we are not yet able to stabilize?
You see, the CBN said they want to drive a market-determined exchange rate. And I've said it over and over. You don't leave your exchange rate to market forces. Market forces are there to take advantage. I'm a businessman.
And which is what we've seen.
That's what we've seen. So if you like saying the EFCC after them, I've said it over and over. We have three classes of people in the market. Any market in the world, you have those that are traders, you have investors, and you have speculators. They are part of every market. People that speculate, they are not looking at fundamentals. They don't care. They say, look, if I go in there, where we call in Nigeria cash out, I'll cash out before anything happens. They are speculators. What you do for speculators, come up with a superior strategy. And that's when you say they'll get their hands burned. We saw that happen. When Naira went to 1,900, they were thinking, oh, it will get to 2,500. And we saw what did the CBN do that time? They just inject liquidity into the system. But as they were injecting liquidity, our reserve was depleting because we're not attracting inflow. Yeah. The president has traveled to get investors into the economy. But when you look at the investor that we've gone in about, if you look at the data, I mean, I'm looking at the data from Nigerian Exchange Group, that's the data we have now. It's about 18 point something billion that has come in. And when you look at the investors that have gone out, there are more. So we need, and I keep saying it, why we are not seeing the effect is because no investor wants to come to your market when your exchange rate is not stable.
So on that premise, why are we concerned about foreign direct investments? Why don't we create policies that will grow local investments so that once foreigners see this, they can come of their own volition?
See, when you talk about growing the local investor, I keep saying, how do you grow it? Infrastructure. You have the infrastructure. So you still need the foreigners to come in to build your infrastructure. So there's a challenge of infrastructure. There's a challenge of transportation. So even if you are saying you want to build a local, do you have control over the price of gas?
It's still valid on the dollar.
The dollar. Just yesterday we made before now that we can buy diesel at 1,050. Yesterday they said down because 1,000 naira, but now it has gone to 1,100 because of the exchange rate. This is not we are no more importing diesel. But international market
still determines
the price. So it's a dollarized global economy, not just a Nigeria economy. But what I say in essence is, in the short term, you want to attract foreign investors. Your inflow, then that's what the CBN is trying to do. They try to make rates high. But unfortunately for us, if we are hiking rate, if maybe the U.S. Central Bank decide to bring down their rate, then you have a lot of investors flowing towards the hike rate in Nigeria because of the return they will get. But up to this moment, the bank, the CBN, the Bank of America is still thinking of hiking rate because they have an inflation. You remember I said we started together. At the time we started, when we were doing 18%, they were 12%. Yeah. Today they have about 4%, and they are still saying, look, we have not gotten it yet. But their own issue of inflation is as a result of destruction in terms of supply chain.
Yes.
Our own is multi-dimension. You know, they say it's only in Nigeria you get so much of those multi-dimension poverty. Now we have multi-dimension inflation. Now, what is driving that inflation? You look at microeconomic policy, like what the CBN have just done now. tighten liquidity, lending to businesses, cost of fund becomes high. That is micro. Demand and supply, the structural chain. That is the structural chain that we're talking about. It's not there. Most of your demand comes outside the shore of this country.
The country, yeah.
So how do you able to meet that one? Then come the muster. Exchange rate now added to our own.
Right.
That is, you see, it's a multi-dimensional challenge.
Right.
So you have to deal with these three issues if you want to really handle inflation.
We'll come to how the government can deal with these three issues you've mentioned when we return from this break. Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking about CBN's decision to raise the interest rate from 24.75% to 26.5%, and we still have our guest, Mukhtar Mohammed, talking to us about that. There were three issues you said that the government needs to deal with to really address this issue if we're looking for stability, so to speak. Quickly address that.
When you talk about lending, that's one major aspect that they need to deal with, either trying to come up with a strategy on how to both of the lending rate to come down. That's why you see the organized private sector was saying that it should have been contacted before the hiking rate.
Yeah.
We need to look at that area. Unfortunately, sometimes then you might not be able to deal with that area. The physical side need to come in to deal with that area, either in terms of tax bracket, either in terms of coming up with a subsidy one way for the manufacturing sector.
Especially
that, as it stands now, is not going to work because the government needs all the money they need to do a lot of projects. Now, secondly, I think when you talk about the demand and supply, the order is still boiled down to the government now. Are you ready to cut down on your revenue? You need to take a bite. That means the port charges must be fixed. Then you are not doing at 1,500 today, and then the muster still remain that exchange rate. You need to attract foreign direct investors. You need to attract portfolio investors. You need to come up with that products very soon so that Nigeria and the diaspora will begin to bring in inflow into the economy.
All right. Our time is up, unfortunately, but we must thank you, CEO Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed, for your time on the program. Thank you.